much for joining me.
Thank you.
Tonight we are going to be playing a few games to test your intuition, but also probably in a more sinister way than the games you're used to. We're going to be testing my ability to influence you.
Wow, okay.
All of these tests will revolve around a set of 5 symbols. We'll come back to the envelopes later. These 5 symbols here: a circle, a cross, a wavy lines, a square, and a star. Have you ever seen those symbols in that kind of sequence before?
No.
They were used to test psychic ability. One of these symbols would be printed on a card. It would be held with its back facing someone that claimed to be psychic, and the psychic would have to guess what symbol is on the reverse.
Okay.
So if I was to ask you to name any of the symbols in front of you, which one would it be?
This one?
The wavy lines?
Yeah.
And you could have chosen any of the symbols, I guess.
Yeah.
I mentioned that these were used to test psychic ability, that they would be held with the back facing the person claiming to be psychic, and they would have to guess what's on the reverse. Do you want to turn that card over?
Wait, what? How? Like, what?
Okay, so that live performance went really well.
Yeah.
This is a multiple out routine. There are 2 different ways that it can go, and the way that it went was the #1 super hit that I love because you don't have to do anything. There is another outcome, however. If they choose one of the other symbols, it doesn't matter which one, something else will happen. So I wanted to show you very quickly with Lewis here how that looks before we go into the method. So inside of this envelope, I have a card.
Mm-hmm.
This card has all 5 ESP symbols printed across it. Before we go into anything else, I want you just to touch any of them, the one that seems most interesting to you.
Circle.
The circle.
Mm-hmm.
There is one other thing inside of this envelope. I'll be as clean as I possibly can. It is
Perfect.
the circle, and there is nothing else inside of there.
Nice.
And then this goes like so, and I'm reset. Okay, so let's talk about that little opening effect that you just saw. Well, you saw it ages ago,
I did.
but that they just saw. So for this, all you need is the double facer gaffs and the 5 symbols gaff, which has got the waves on the back. As you've probably guessed, I was awfully lucky during that performance, and that is the best outcome. This is essentially a multiple out. All 4 outs, aside from the waves, play exactly the same.
Yeah.
So you're going to get that more often than not. But when you do hit on the waves, it's lovely.
Perfect. Yeah.
And the line that I use, you will have noticed, is please place your finger down on any one of these symbols, the one that seems most interesting to you. Now, to everyone else listening, you're simply asking someone to choose a symbol, but the person that you're speaking to, you're saying, which one is the most interesting symbol to you? And of course, the one symbol that they won't have ever seen before, the one that is inherently more interesting, is of course the waves. That's why it lives on the back.
So essentially, before the routine even begins, you're giving yourself a chance to get the best case scenario.
Yeah.
And if they point to any of the others, it doesn't matter because you're covered anyway.
Exactly. So to be covered, you need to either construct or buy a double envelope, or if you've got a Himba wallet or something like that, you can use that. I'm going to show you how to construct the simplest double envelope in the world, but our good friend Alan Wong makes some really nice double envelopes, which I would recommend. They're not very expensive at all. So to make a double envelope, you need 2 envelopes. We're going to be sticking them top to bottom, back to back. Like this, essentially.
Yeah. So on one of them, you've got the opening at the bottom. On the other, you've got the opening at the top. And they're going to go back to back so that you end up with a sort of... You can open it that side, and when you flip it over, you can open it that side. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's just quickly stick these together. Of course, in real life, you'd be a lot more neat and caring, but I just want to show you this very quickly using some double-sided tape.
Just for clarity, this is double-sided tape.
Yeah. This is used for sticking pasties onto nipples generally. But today we're sticking envelopes onto envelopes.
Mm. Okay, so you've put 2 strips of this on the back of one envelope.
Exactly.
And then peeled the backing off.
Yep. So you'll be able to see it on the close-up camera. We've got a strip of tape there, strip of tape there. The opening for this envelope is over here. So the opening for this envelope is going on the opposite side. I'm going to try and line these up as perfectly as I can and just stick them down. And it's useful to have some way to tell which envelope is which. So I like to...
Which side is which?
Yes, which side is which. So I like to just make a little mark there. I'm not sure how clearly you can see that on the camera, but all I've done is taken my nail and just ripped that a little bit. So it's very, very clear to me. This is the front, what I'm considering the front. This is the back, what I'm considering the back. So we're going to be loading these into the envelope. So we've got 2 symbols together, a circle and a square. 2 symbols together, a cross and a star. The reason the cross and the star are together is that they're both very pointy.
Mm.
So you know
the pointy shapes are both
the pointy shapes are both
yeah.
there. And the circle and the square are very similar shapes. They're much softer.
Yeah.
So the circle and the square are going to go circle up where the marking is, where the little rip is.
Mm-hmm.
And you can mark the envelopes in any way you see fit, but I just do that little rip.
And you just need to remember that you've put it with the circle facing up.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a really clever way of remembering that. It was just, you look up at the moon. So with the moon being round and it looking like a circle, you know that the circle is on top. Yep. Just an easy way of remembering which side is which.
Yeah. It's very useful when you haven't performed this particular trick for a long time. You can jump straight at it. And the same mnemonic, not really a mnemonic, acts for this. So the star, you look up at the stars.
And that's how you remember that you've placed the star facing up. Yeah, so the way I see it is, the only way I can open this side of the envelope is like this. So if I know that we look up at the stars, I know that if I pull this out like this, the star is going to be what's visible. And then if I've got this the other way round, again, the only way I can access the card in this side now is through here, and we look up at the moon, so I know that when I take this card out, the circle is going to be the one that's facing up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the handling in a second. But before we do, in the circle side, the ripped side, the front, I'm going to place this on top. So just to pull this out. So this is going to go on top. So when I put my fingers in, this is the first card that is going to be pulled out. Because if you do get the wavy lines, of course, you don't want to think that there's something else inside the envelope, right? So yeah, just to reiterate that setup, we've stuck these 2 envelopes together upside down, back to back. Inside the front portion, which I've marked in some way, from the top down, I've got the 5 symbol card with the 5 symbols face up. Then I've got the circle, the moon, face up. On the other side, the non-marked side, the back, I just have one card, and that is the star and cross. And because we look up at the star is facing upwards. So, it's obvious how you get the symbol out if it is the star or the circle, but how do you get the symbol out if it's the other one? So the way that I do it, it's very simple. I will pick up the envelope in the appropriate manner. So if I've got it facing front side up, I place my hand down on top, drag it to the end of the table, and just turn my hand over so that that's at the top. Easy, right? One more time.
So right now, at the moment, you know that because of the marking here on the envelope, if you were to open this, the circle is there, but you need the star instead.
For instance. Yeah. So I come over, close that opening, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's not even a move. It's literally that. And usually I have it under a glass anyway, so that provides me even more misdirection, but you're in the middle of talking at this point anyway. So yes, if it's the star, I can pull it out here. If it's the cross, or of course the square on the other side, you're just going to squeeze a little bit. Allow your finger to pull out the first part of the card. We don't want to pull it out too far because that will reveal the symbol. So just a little bit of the blank, and then you're going to turn the envelope like that and show them there's nothing else inside the envelope.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So if it's the cross, we go like this, open that up with a thumb, come inside, pull that, and there's nothing else inside the envelope. Envelope goes away. Done and dusted.
Yeah, nice. It's so simple. It's so straightforward. Once you give it a minute or two to
we're over-explaining it.
The symbols are. Yeah.
I'd rather over-explain it than under-explain it. So yeah, but whichever multiple out solution you like to use, whether it's a Himba wallet, whether it's Lewis Laval's Orphic wallet, which you'll find out more about soon, or anything else, whether it's one of Alan Wong's double envelopes or somebody else's double envelope, it'll always work the same.
Yeah. Okay, so just quickly then, you've brought this envelope out, you've introduced the experiment or what it is that you're going to be doing. What happens next? You're reaching into the envelope to remove the card with the symbols on?
Yep. So I'm looking at the front of the envelope. I'm going to squeeze.
Yeah.
Let friction pull out this card.
Yeah, and I imagine being careful not to flash the back of
Yeah,
this.
of course. Yeah. And then I place this down on the table. I say in the show, which is very nice if you're doing all of these tricks together, we'll come back to the envelopes in a minute. And later on, we do come back to the envelopes. And
because of the other routines.
Yeah, but if you need to come back to this envelope to show one of the outs, you've said we're going to go back to the envelope.
And if they end up choosing the wavy lines, you've said we'll come back to the envelopes in a bit. They've chosen the wavy lines, like if they do, and you've got your reveal, but then you can go back to the envelope just to put the card away.
Yeah. I mean,
even if you were just doing this as your opener. And I think this is beautiful. You can approach your group, place one envelope down on the table. Already you've got their attention, then you just go into this beautiful routine. Yeah,
super simple. Like I wanted to open an ESP set with literally the simplest thing I possibly could. And the simplest thing that you can possibly do is say, choose one of those symbols, they choose one, you reveal, that you knew which one they'd choose.
Yeah.
I mean,
nice.
it's a 30-second trick.
A way that I've been doing this without putting the envelope on the table. So I've introduced the envelope, bring this card, which can just go down. Because again, if the table's wet, I don't want to get this wet or anything like that. So I keep it in my hand. This is in my right hand. So if I need to, I can just go straight into here to remove this card. Or if I need to turn it over, as I'm talking to them, I just pick this up and hold it up as I gesture to the envelope and talk about one card being left inside. And now I've just turned it over. So that again, this is the marked side of the envelope. I can open this and remove it this way if I need to, or remove the card and turn it over in the same way that Dee explained. Or if I just need to turn the envelope over, I'm closing the envelope, bringing it up as I shake it like this, talk about it, and now I've essentially, that's all I'm doing. I'm just turning the envelope over by picking it up. As I continue to talk to my spectator, I can reach inside and then do whatever I need to do to remove the correct symbol. And that'd be a nice way of doing the envelope turnover, essentially, if this was in your hands, rather than it being on a table.
Yeah, that's a good shout. That's another thing. I know a lot of people walk around.
Yeah.
And some of these tricks I tend to use on a table, but some of them you can use walk around as well.
It's perfect for me because this is plastic. I don't mind this going on a sticky table. I don't really want to ruin my envelope, so I can just keep it in my hand. It doesn't move. Nothing fishy is going on. It just stays there whilst I'm talking to them. If you get that really clean reveal of so if they choose the wavy lines, you've got that, and then you can put this straight back in. If they choose either the circle or the square, I've got that here. And if they choose the star or the plus, as I'm talking to them, it's the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And you'll even find yourself thinking, I can't believe I just got away with that.
Well, yeah, it's like
over.
Ben Earl's coin switch, where he's holding the coin there and then goes like that.
It just feels really nice to do, and it just flows as well.
Yeah. And, the beauty here is as soon as this card goes back inside the envelope, instantly reset, goes back in the pocket, takes up no space. So even if you were only going to do one ESP trick, I mean, that's pretty... It's a banger.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Because
especially if you get the waves.
Even if in the rest of your set you're not using any ESP symbols, you're introducing mind reading or influence or whatever it is that you do, that you claim, you're introducing this in just the simplest way. You're not going straight in with having them think of names and star sign. It's like, let's keep this simple. A very quick introduction of the shapes and what they were used for, or what you use them for. They've named one, and then there it is, and this just can go straight back into your pocket. I think it's wonderful.
Wonderful, do you?
well, what you could even do, let's say you had one spectator that you wanted to use for another routine. Let's say you've pre-showed them, or you're going to do some hypnosis, or you've already forced something. You could bring these out and say, now, we will be trying an experiment in a moment, but this will only work with the most intuitive person among you. So let's say I've got 3 people in front of me and I know I've forced something on this person for another routine. I can let these other spectators get it wrong. Name one, oh, okay, great. Name one, okay, that's fine, but what would you go for? And now it doesn't matter what they say because it's going to be right because I've got all of the outs.
Yeah, that's a killer.
So it's like, okay, you're clearly the most intuitive person here, I'm going to do this with you. And I've pre-showed them or I've forced something or I've whatever.
Yeah.
And that gives me an excuse to use that person, not any of the other 2.
Yeah, that's a killer. I'm going to do that. Yeah, for sure. See, this is the good thing when we start filming in front of a camera and all of this.
All the ideas come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he hadn't told me anything about that.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well, don't overlook this. It's a great opener. It's really simple. And if you think about it, it might seem a little too... because the method's just so easy. It's practically self-working.
It's stupid.
Yeah, but like... if you just let this be the first moment, this is their first glimpse at what you do. And in the rest of your act, it's going to get better, whether you continue to use the ESP routines or your own ESP routines, or if not, if this just goes straight back into your pocket. It's just a little moment, it's just something. And it's not unbelievable, it's not wildly out there, so they're not going to instantly deny your claims.
It's definitely a good way to open up that connection. So yeah, we've spoken enough about that, I think. We've been going on and on and on. It's just a mouthful out.
It's just nice though. Yeah, but it's nice.
But yeah, it is a really solid way to open. And, you can see it worked beautifully when we shot that because she did choose the symbol that I willed her to choose.
Yeah.
But even if she didn't, she would have still got a killer effect.
Yeah, totally.
So let's move on. Let's talk about another trick, eh?